Distance, midpoint, and slope. Distance, midpoint, and slope are three equations you'll need to master for the coordinate geometry questions on the GRE. Let's start with distance. Distance simply describes how long a line is. It's calculated using the formula the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Let's take a look at an example. Calculate the distance of a line with the endpoints -2, 1, and 4, 3. So let's plug these points into our formula and see what happens. That gives us the square root of -2 minus 4 squared plus 1 minus 3 squared. So we're left with the square root of -6 squared plus -2 squared. -6 squared is 36 and -2 squared is 4. Add those together and we get our distance of the square root of 40. The length of a horizontal line is the positive difference between the x-coordinates of its endpoints. And the length of a vertical line is the positive difference between the y-coordinates of its endpoints. The midpoint of a line is the point that lies exactly at the line's center. To calculate the coordinates of the midpoint, use the formula x1 plus x2 over 2 and y1 plus y2 over 2. Let's look at an example. A line with the endpoints 12, 3, and 18, 7. To find the midpoint, plug the endpoint coordinates into our midpoint formula. That gives us 12 plus 18 over 2 for the x-coordinate. That simplifies to 30 over 2, which is 15. That's our x-coordinate for the midpoint. For y, we have 3 plus 7 over 2, which simplifies to 10 over 2, which is 5. So our midpoint is 15, 5. Okay, let's get to our most important formula, slope. The slope formula is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You'll commonly hear this expressed as rise over run. Rise because the y-coordinates measure the vertical difference, and run because the x-coordinates measure the horizontal difference. Let's look at an example. Find the slope of a line with the endpoints -2, -3, and 2, 5. 5 minus -3 over 2 minus -2. 5 minus -3 simplifies to 8, and 2 minus -2 simplifies to 4. So now we have 8 over 4, which, of course, is 2. That's our slope. Horizontal lines have a slope of 0. Vertical lines have an undefined slope. Perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes, which means that we change the sign from a positive to a negative or a negative to a positive, and flip the fraction of the slope. For example, if the slope of a line x is 5, what are the slopes of a line parallel to line x and a line perpendicular to line x? The parallel line will have the exact same slope, 5, and the perpendicular line will have the opposite reciprocal slope by changing the sign from a positive to a negative and flipping the fraction 5 over 1 to 1/5. So the slope of the perpendicular line is -1/5. Let's take a look at a slope question on the GRE. With the given figure, which value is larger? Column A, -5, or column B, h? In order to determine the value for h, you will have to calculate the slope of the line. It may look like we are only given 2 points, but the line passes through the center of the graph, giving us a third point of 0, 0. Remember, we can trust that the graphs are drawn to scale. So find the difference between the rise and the run of 0, 0 and 3, -2 to get us -2/3. Next, find the slope difference between 6h and 3, -2. That will be h minus -2 over 6 minus 3. That leaves us with h plus 2 over 3. Set the two slopes equal to each other and solve for h. Cancel out the 3's and subtract the 2, and you're left with -4. -4 is greater than -5. So the quantity of column B is greater is our answer.